The all-new Yamaha V6 Offshore F350. It's a featherweight knockout, the lightest 350 horsepower outboard on the water, exhilarating boating and incredible control in a powerfully light design. The Yamaha V6 Offshore F350.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
It's Thursday, June 6th. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey, Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine. Back in the saddle again after a week away and looking forward to the action here at the Jersey Shore this weekend. Of course, you can tell in my voice already. I brought a little bug home as a parting gift from Key West in my trip with the folks from Penn Reels last week. And I'm hoping to shake that before Friday with the Manhattan Cup, fishing with my Jersey Devil boys, Captain Brian Rice, Paulie Walnuts, Richie Torres, my brother Clark. It's a great event, Manhattan Cup. It supports Fisheries Conservation Trust and, of course, our American heroes, the brave service men and women. A 100% catch and release striped bass tournament. If you've never participated in this event, I highly recommend it. First class operation. Frank Crescitelli, Gary Caputi, John DePersonaire, and crew run an incredible tournament out of Jersey City, always during the first week of June, which is good because we still have those jumbo striped bass in that region, especially considering how big the large and in-charge striped bass are in the northern part of the Garden State at this point in the New York, New Jersey Bight. The action is coming to an end, of course, as these fish start to slide towards the east, but they're still showing. And yeah, we finally got a pretty decent bunker run, which seems to indicate to me that everything that we said along the way, with all that rain and colder water that we had this spring, kind of impacted the bunker run. But we are seeing bunker along the Jersey Shore at this point, and there should be a good opportunity for you to live line some jumbos in the days ahead. Subscriber Craig Wartz let me know that he and his girlfriend Nicole were fishing out of Atlantic Highlands over the weekend. They found a few nervous pods of bunker just off of the ammo pier, live lined some stripers, boated a 42.5 incher that already had a gray fish tag research spaghetti tag. I'm wondering if that was one of the bass that we tagged on May 16th. I didn't get the numbers from Craig, but we'll find out. Now later, Craig and Nicole went out front to try some sea bass jigging. But lo and behold, this 49-inch striped bass crashed the party, hit a 60-gram Nomad streaker jig off the beach, a couple of miles. Now, these big bass are here, but they are, as I said before, on the move. It'll be exciting to see what our striped bass tagging efforts, especially with those mini-pat satellite tagging devices that we deployed in 4 fish in mid-May. I believe we did 4 in May, and then earlier this week, we had saved one from May 16th because of that snotty weather back then. Chris Bishop was out with Rob Radloff this week on the Conch 27, and they put another one in. But certainly a lot of our long-held assumptions of these fish, now we're finding out moving inside and outside the 3-mile line, and the frequency with what they do certainly could use some new data sets. I'll give you an example. Albert and David Shema caught and released this monster in 70 feet of water about 8 miles out over the weekend while looking for tuna. Al said they swam her for 10 minutes to get her going. So there's a jumbo fish. Not sure if it's Hudson stock or Chesapeake, but that's 8 miles out on the tuna grounds. Speaking of which, I had a tip this week from a friend saying bluefin were spotted just 5 or 6 miles off Belmar earlier this week. Warmer waters are starting to cycle into the canyons, but mostly to this point, the action has still been a little bit farther to the south, Poor Man's and the like. That said, the Beach Haven Marlin and Tuna Club will kick off their tournament season at the Edge this week. The Tuna Open running from June 8th to the 15th. For details, you still have that. Opportunity. At this point, the Manasquan River Bluefin Open, that one's going on this week. You don't have time to enter that I understand, but you can get in on the Tuna Open. Go to tunaopen.com. You can also take a look at the calendar events in the June edition of the Fisherman magazine. Always try to capture all of those tournaments throughout the year. Pick up that June edition with Sean Smita and that black drum on the cover. We still are getting reports of black drum. Moon event this week Nick Konachevsky let me know too that those drum are in and out of the surf, but maybe with that lunar event this week, get another run along the central Jersey beaches. Of course, down in Delaware Bay, May and June are prime times for black drum fishing, and that bite continues pretty well. We're getting really excellent tilefish reports at this point out of the canyon reaches. Nicholas Tenero, he had back-to-back trips on the Gumad, a 38-foot Enriques out of Toms River. Both trips saw exceptional golden and blue line tile fishing, to say the least, but the extraordinary part was the same angler, Jeff, here on both trips missed the blue line state record in New Jersey by a matter of ounces. They said they also saw good bluefin action on both of the trips as well, with fish being from 60 to 65 inches. So like I said, with that tip 5 to 6 miles out of Belmar, look for bluefin on the prowl. We are getting some yellowfin reports farther south from the canyons. So hopefully we're just starting to shape up for a really excellent tuna season. I'm hoping to see those squid line up on the seaside lumps this week as well. A little sporty offshore today, Thursday, from the Hudson to Baltimore, but it does appear that the NOAA offshore marine forecast lightens up a bit as we head into this weekend ahead. It's those south-southwesterly winds on Thursday that are expected to really mix things up on Thursday. But the inshore forecast out of Atlantic City as well looks good Friday and Saturday if you're pressing out to the inshore wrecks and snags in search of black sea bass. On this week's Open Boat, Jenny ties up an easy sea bass rig to help you anglers sling some sea biscuits from the reefs to the fried pan this weekend. Jenny, take it away.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Now today we are going to talk about a rig that I like to use for sea bass. Sea bass fishing right now across the region has been red hot. People are slinging up some big knuckleheads on their boats and everything and just absolutely crushing the sea bass. So this is a rig that's going to help you guys get in on the red hot sea bass bite. To start, you got yourself some 40-pound mono. And what I'm gonna do first is, I don't cut my leader material off the spool just yet. I want to work with as much as I can first. At the very bottom of the rig, you're gonna tie a little surgeon's loop. And this surgeon's loop is gonna be for your sinker. Now, based off of the region you're in or like the underwater current, you can have up to like a 4 to 8 ounce sinker. You can go a little heavy because you need to get that stuff down to the bottom quick. So you have your surgeon's loop on the bottom, and then you're going to give yourself about 6 inches of space to work with, and you're going to do a dropper loop. So the dropper loop, take your leader, and you're going to fold it so it makes a loop. But compared to like for striper fishing, a teaser rig, you want to make that dropper loop a lot longer. So you have that much space, and you're going to take it and you're going to pass it through. So what you do is you take it, pass it through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And then you're going to take the loop and actually pass it through the mini loop you just made by twisting it. And what I do is I grab it with my teeth and I'll pull. So grab it with my teeth and pull. There's your dropper loop. So another 6 inches up, you're going to do another dropper loop. And if you really want to get into some triple headers and flex on the boat that you're catching 3 at once, you can do another one, another 6 inches up. So it's a significantly long rig, but you can make it work. So the hooks I like to use, a lot of people use a couple different hooks when you're sea bass fishing, but the ones that I like to use are the classic bait holder hooks. Why do I like bait holder hooks? Because they have those back barbs on the back. Just like while I'm fluking, I don't want a fish to yank my bait off on that first drop. So when I'm sea bass fishing, I'll put clam on here and I'll make sure it rides up onto those barbs so they're not ripping it off. I have opportunity to catch. And the size I use, I like the 4/0 because, you know, big hooks catch big fish. So once you have your 2 to 3 droppers tied on, you're just gonna feed the 40-pound material through the eyelet, and then I do a double pass. So what I do here, you can see, I pass it through once, I twist it with my fingers, and I pass it through again. This is anytime I do a dropper loop. It's a good habit to have. It just adds extra security to it. And that's your whole rig. Now you can drop it down, you can get ready to hook up into some nice knuckleheads, and it's nice, but it's also kind of, I mean, you're not going to keep them anyway because they're out of season, but it's still nice to catch them in the warm weather. You can get some nice blackfish if you're dropping down a clam. Now, hopefully you guys take advantage of the rig tying and get out there and get some action in on this hot sea bass bite. And stay tuned for next week's, where if you guys like jigging up some fish, I'm going to show you guys the one sea bass jig to rule them all. Catch you next week.
If you watched last week's video fishing forecast to the absolute end, I spotlighted the very first double-digit doormat fluke of the 2024 season for Skip Lerman last Wednesday aboard Captain Frank's Vitamin C on the Raritan Bay. Well, Phil Natale brings word of the second reported double-digit doormat, 10 pounds or better. This one 10.68 pounds in the bay on Saturday during the Raging Raymond tournament out of Little Egg Harbor. If you're going to catch a double-digit doormat fluke, might as well do it during a contest. Now, Phil said Stan Gola got the fish, but Phil had the honor to net it. It sounds like somebody was a little nervous there doing the netting. Of a 10-pound fish, nobody wants to be the bad net guy, but they got it. And Phil said there are still some big ones lurking about in the bay. You just have to put in your time to find where they will be and be there at the right time with the right conditions and the right presentation. That's the advice that Phil gave me. Good fluke fishermen, those guys, on the fillet fish. Now, Michael Bascombe thanked the Calhouns for putting on another memorable tournament over the weekend, the Lakes Bay Invitational, the Ray Hawker Memorial, that's out of Margate. The winning fish, a 7.1 pounder by Mike Frank. So yeah, the back bays, that's the place to be. Salty Rivers, back bays. Haven't heard much as far as the offshore wrecks and snags for folks who like to do their ocean fluking. But this is the time of year where you can get some of those bigger fish closer to home. Now, I mentioned cheddar crab in one of our recent video fishing forecasts. Well, the folks at Allen's Dock in New Gretna said it was that bait that led to a hat trick of sorts for John Clayton this week on a weakie, a striper, and a black drum solo trip. If I'm not mistaken, Allen's Dock also had a pretty good weakfish weigh-in the other day for our Dreamboat Fishing Challenge. Yeah, so the Great Bay area, also behind Absecon, behind Atlantic City, in front of Absecon, behind Atlantic City and Brigantine, Little Bay, Great Bay, on up to the mouth of the Mullica River. There's some good-sized weakfish on the prowl. For a look at the latest standings in the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge, and to take a look at that weakfish, let's check in with our producer, Tim Smith.
And now the Dreamboat Fishing Challenge entries for the week. We're into week 6 of the Fisherman's Dreamboat Fishing Challenge, and here's this week's entries. We have Joseph Yam of Flushing, New York, who weighed in his porgy of 2.34 pounds, placing him in second in the porgy category. Then we have Stefan Molbauer of Port Washington, New York, with a sea robin weighing in at 2.65 pounds, also placing him in second in the sea robin category. And then there's the first fluke on the board at 11.76 pounds, caught by Scott Waterman of Canterbury, Connecticut. In the weakfish category, there's been a shuffle. We have entries in from Tom Lucas of Mastic Beach, New York, weighing in his weakfish of 9.5 pounds, taking the first spot in the weakfish category. Timothy Kraus from the North Fork of Long Island with his weakfish of 6.55 pounds. Then we have Andreas Brundler from Hampton Bays, New York, with his 5.6 pound tide runner, and Robert Reed of Atco, New Jersey, with his weakfish coming in at 5.11 pounds. So the top spot still remains with Anthony Savino with 21 points, and the second and third spots, it's a tie with Frank Shea and Scott Waterman at 10 points each. Just a reminder, for your chance to win the grand prize Steiger Craft powered by Yamaha and other great prizes, you need to be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine and use the 2024 entry form filled out completely, available at thefisherman.com/contests.
For a look at the freshwater options in the tri-state region, let's head out to the Poconos. Check in with George Shower, our Pocono Outdoors Guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, we're into June and finally getting some of that nice, warm, seasonal weather that we expect this time of year. Hopefully chase some of that cooler, damp water out, and those water temperatures are certainly starting to rise. At many places, already into the mid-70s, so we have to watch that water temperature, especially if we're going after some of those cool water fish like trout and muskie. The mortality rate goes way up, guys, as that water temperature does, so just be careful. If you plan to release those fish, just be really gentle getting them in and try to get a safe release. I know many guides this time of year turning off their trout and muskie programs, waiting for cooler weather in the fall for that. But guys, right now, June 8th, this Saturday, opens up bass season here in Pennsylvania. Largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass all open up for catch and keep here in Pennsylvania. So if you want to get out and get into some of that, it's probably some of my best time of year. If you want to get out, it's topwater season. You know, we're at post spawn with those water temperatures starting to rise and those bass are sitting tight up in that skinny water, and there's nothing better to get them with than a topwater bait, you know, like a whopper plop or even a jerk bait. We had good friend Paul Seward check in from South Jersey. He was out throwing a whopper plopper and got us some great bass as well. Even some folks up here, we had Kathy Toryak send in this picture of 6-year-old Carter Torak, sorry about that, and he got himself a really nice bass on a worm out there in Gouldsboro on Crystal Lake. So lots of good fish in there, guys. Like I said, you can get out for those trout and stuff, but the water temperatures are starting to rise up. Just be really careful as you get on all these fish. Weekend, we might have a few showers to dodge this weekend, but I think we're still in for some great fishing. Be sure you get out and get on them. But from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors.
This Friday through Sunday, June 7th to 9th, you have the Mid-Atlantic Kayak Open, hailed as New Jersey's biggest kayak fishing tournament, presented by the Tupperware Navy. Now, this 2-day multi-species event with $4,000 plus in the purse is a length-based tournament based on 9 different species of fish. The captain's meeting is on June 7th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Great Bay Outfitters, 955 Radio Road in Little Egg Harbor Township. For details, visit tupperwarenavy.org. For kayak anglers, you also have the Fisherman magazine's Coastal Kayak Clash. Much like the Dreamboat, this is a members-only tournament, but it's open for our kayak anglers. You got to be a member, you got to be a subscriber to the Fisherman magazine, you got to register, and it's another length-based tournament, so you don't have to kill fish, which is great because that means we can have jumbo stripers in the mix as well. Let's head back to our virtual studios with a Kayak Clash tip update from Tim Smith.
It was another busy week in the Coastal Kayak Clash. The big fish of the week goes to Ken Stark for his 45.5-inch striper, landing him in second place for the category. We had 2 nice sea bass hit the board. Todd Trezone voted this third place 17.5-incher, and Al Green landed in second place with a 20-incher. Jeremy Kurtz floats into third place in the Fluke category with his 22.5-incher. And Gregory Vergere gets a step closer to the top 3 with his 22.75-inch weak fish. The top 3 looks like this. Mike Radzawinski holds third place with 5 points. Bob Wagner remains in second place with 6 points. Justin Osa remains at the top of the race with 9 points. To get all the information on how to enter, visit thefisherman.com/contests.
It's a short segment this week as I shake another travel bug. I bumped into Ron Bartle in the Key West airport on Saturday on the way home. Ron, I hope you didn't catch something, or at least didn't catch what I caught. But from the looks of things, you did tell me you were going sea bass fishing. I had to check your Facebook page. Yeah, it looks like you got a load of black sea bass and ling. Those are the reports we're getting from a lot of boats. Earlier this spring, the ling fishing was really bad. It was almost like these fish disappeared. But now you've got in the mix black sea bass and ling on a lot of these trips. The folks out of Delaware, of course, Lewis, in Indian River Inlet, they're sailing for black sea bass as well. So that's a great opportunity for you this weekend. So hopefully you can get out and get on them but I'll tell you, it's a perfect way to cap off the weekend. Some very sad news to report this week. Kenny Killy King Halverson of Pell's Bait and Tackle in Brick, purveyor of live bait up and down the Jersey Shore, passed away tragically earlier this week while out on the boat on Raritan Bay. My condolences, and from all of us at the Fisherman magazine, to family and friends of Kenny, the big dog. This was really a tragic loss. And as his family noted in a post this week, take comfort in knowing he went out on the water in his boat, which is what he would have wanted. God bless, fair winds, Kenny. That's really a surprise this week, and it's hit a lot of us pretty hard. Another loss I learned about this week, the man known as the Shad Man, John Panola, who I've known for over 20 years. John was very much involved with the American shad fishery and authored numerous shad pieces in the Fisherman magazine over the years. As my friend Vince Sperano said, John was always a quiet, polite, kind soul. Again, condolences to the Panola family. Picture on screen that I had shared, had taken from one of his seminars at the Philadelphia Fishing Show a few years ago. Like I said, this is a short video this week. Deadlines to stay on top of, and this bug that I've got to shake in time for Friday's Manhattan Cup out of Jersey City. I hope, Lord willing, to see you there, and hopefully see you on the upper stretches of Barnegat Bay fluke fishing this Saturday, because that is exactly where I want to be. Catch them up. We'll see you again next week right here at thefisherman.com.